We're back for Europa League phase action against Fiorentina, but even if we win, will you see us celebrating? I don't think so. That is because the board has been up to its old tricks again. Yes, they have accepted a bid for another player that we had previously rejected. This time, it's our wonder kid Jacob Uso, who is now worth, brace yourselves, a staggering £78 million. Now, just wait until you see how much the board sold him for. We rejected offers of about £3.5–4 million from both Arsenal and Manchester City. So when Man City came in with the staggering offer of £5.5 million, £5.5 million, the board could not sell him quick enough. Because we'd already wasted our protest on the goalkeeper a month or so ago, we weren't even able to put up a protest about this. And he moved to Manchester City for a rather meagre transfer fee, I would argue. Now, you could say that that's quite a good profit margin. He'd played 30 league games for the club. He'd only scored 4 league goals. And we bought him for £220,000 and we sell him for 5.5. But given the clear potential of him, given that he's only 19 years old, given that he just appeared in a World Cup semi-final for the Ivory Coast, and given that he's now worth potentially £78 million, I'm really not sure why the board let him go, and I'm really not sure why in Football Manager you're only allowed to protest one transfer per season that the board accept. Why would you not be able to protest a second time? It's like you're moot the second time that it happens. I really cannot comprehend why that is a thing in Football Manager. We have replaced him. The good news is the board sold Uso on transfer deadline day, but transfer deadline day for the majority of European clubs, transfer deadline day for Croatian clubs seem to finish a few days after. So we've bought in a replacement. We've spent not far off what we got for Uso on the replacement. The only trouble is they're about half the player and we weren't able to register them in time for European competition. So here is the player that we bought in. They are Croatian, but they've joined us from Norwegian club Vålerenga. They are worth potentially £5.2 million, but they are very good in the air and they have got good flair and reasonable composure. And we've snapped them up for £3.6 million. Would I rather have had Uso? Yes. Have we ended up with Tony Majic? Yes. And I've also panicked and bought in another central defender. This is Willy Cambuala. Now, you may recognise young Willy. Everybody pleaded with me down in the comments, please don't sign anybody from Lokomotiva. They weren't good enough there. They won't be good enough here. Well, we've bought in Willy Cambuala because he's quick and he's good in the air. And in our previous match, one of our central defenders did something so horrific, I've slapped him on the transfer list. And here is the incident in question, and we're going to run it from the kickoff. This is the start of the second period in our most recent game against our fiercest of rivals, Hajduk Split. We'd made a substitution at half-time. One of our centre-backs picked up a knock during the first period, so we substituted them off, and we bought in one of the centre-halves that we'd purchased for free during the off-season, and they'd been on the pitch a matter of, I would say, 45 seconds, and they hadn't even touched the ball yet when they decided to do one of the most horrific tackles you will have seen in FM24, in one of the most innocuous positions on the pitch that you will have seen in FM24. Brace yourselves now, it's X-rated. They decide to lunge in from there through both of the ankles of their opponent. And it meant that Wallu, as we are calling him, was sent off before he'd even touched the ball, having come on as a substitute. And then we went from being 3-1 up to being 3-2 up as Frank Zappa scored, and then 3-3. And by 66 minutes, we were 4-3 down and down to 10 players and chasing the game and on the back of the board having just sold off our wonder kid. It felt like quite a few things were going against us. Since the game against Odd in our last episode, we'd beaten Kurica 1-0. We'd drawn with Osijek in a first versus second in the table clash. And when we were 3-1 up against Hajduk, we were looking like we were on a decent little run of form a run of form that would have taken us to the top of the table. As it is, we are now down in second. We are 2 points behind Osijek, 3 ahead of Hajduk, and it does feel at the moment like the FM gods are just sending things to test us in our final season of the quest, because with the interference of the board and the lunacy of our central defenders, it means that we're dropping points, losing players, and tonight we return to European action. And we return to it with a fairly familiar lineup, minus Uso, of course. So the pressure is now piling on 18-year-old Ante Pilcic, who is a good finisher and is very quick. But the concentration troubles me a little bit, and they often seem to fluff their chances when they are through one-on-one with the keeper. But we don't really have a very good alternative for tonight's game, because Majic, of course, we've not been able to register, and our other striker, Stipislav Lavaya, they've been carrying a knock and they're not really fit enough even to make the bench today. And they are also a little bit unhappy because bids came in for them during the transfer window. The club they really wanted to join was Rosenborg, and they got fed up that we rejected a bid from them. They're not the only player that's unhappy that we've rejected bids. Peter Ishak was unhappy that we rejected a bid from Liverpool, and that I can understand a little bit more, and given the calibre of clubs that are interested in his services, I fully expect the board to sell this player during the January transfer window. So the final season of the quest is being punctuated by us losing our star talents and not being able to replace them with players that are quite of the same level. Still, we will battle on regardless, and tonight we kick off our league phase against Fiorentina. Going to be a tough one, but we are at least at home. We'll see if we can kick off our campaign with 3 points. Now, I'm fully expecting us to have a very tough game tonight, but we are firing forward early in just the second minute, and Ricard has a strike just inside the area that goes flying over the bar. If we could get a positive result against Fiorentina, that would bode well for me. I would really like to finish in that top 8 clubs who don't have to go through a playoff to qualify for the next round. That could be a tall order. I think we're going to struggle for goals a little this season. But if we could get a positive result tonight, what a boost that would be to our confidence going into some of the other games. On 13 minutes, we've come forward a second time and had a good couple of chances that their goalkeeper has had to intervene with. This has been a fairly positive start, positive enough that I think we will encourage the players, although unfortunately it means Fiorentina are now coming forward for the first time. We somehow cleared the ball despite the fact that time seemed to have stopped in the penalty area. Nobody moved as the ball was there to be kicked into our open net, but instead we've got the ball on the halfway line with Ricard, so we will proceed. And here is our fullback once more, very heavily involved in this move, as he plays a pass forward to Milanovic, who's in, gives it to Pilcic, and there is the misfiring striker, Uso who? I hear you cry down in the comments. Pilcic is the new king, and long live him. Ricard was key in this move. On 3 occasions he received the ball. On the final of those, he set up Milanovic, who made it to the byline, cuts it back. Pilcic passes into an unguarded goal, and we are 1-0 up against a very handy Fiorentina side, and that is a decent start to this game. 27 minutes gone. The Italians are yet to have a shot. Only one of our 5 has been on target, but we have scored the all-important goal. And when I said if we could get a positive result from this game, I was thinking a draw. I wasn't thinking that we might get a win, but we go into half-time with a slender 1-goal lead and something to hang on to in the second half. The second half is underway. Isak has had yet another disappointing game, so we brought Cole Palmer on for the second period to see whether the fact that they are at least happy to be at the club might just help them have more of an influence on the game. We've got a ball into the box. There is Cole Palmer at the far post. I think it was Pilcic that sent in the cross. 8 shots now. Still as many on target as Fiorentina have had with their only effort of the game. That's a little bit of a concern. We're racing through to 65 minutes. That's our normal cue to assess the fitness of the players and see who might need substituting. Sanchez certainly seems like one of those. Pembele will come on. Pavic looks like another of those. Kirill Vincic will come on, and Vidovic is also struggling. I think Renier is the player that will come into the action. 3 changes made. That's 4 of our subs made in total. Does mean that we've got a relatively fit team out onto the pitch as Cole Palmer swivels on a bank vault, sends a ball across the face of goal. Their goalkeeper deflects it behind. We've now had 3 shots on target. Our XG has climbed above 2. We probably should have scored another goal. We've got 1 substitute remaining. Once more, we will take off the player who is in most need of a rest. It looks like that's going to be our left back. Leonardo Lello is going to come on in place of them. And we're going to see if we can make it through to full time with either a narrow 1-0 victory, or maybe we might be able to score a second goal. Amrabat has the ball for Fiorentina. There's a lot of space in that midfield when we've got such a deep 2 central players. But as soon as they cross the halfway line, the idea was that we would spring into action and rob it back. That's not happened on this occasion. As they send a shot in from the edge of the D, Volstedt manages to smuggle it between his own legs behind for a corner. And now they've got a chance for a set play equaliser. It's a good punch from Volstedt. They've got the ball back. They've turned on it, and the space around that box. They're offside on this occasion. We've managed to win the free kick. They've had 3 shots on target. We've had 4. Our XG is now almost 3 goals. Theirs is 0.3. They don't deserve an equaliser in this game, but our inability to score a second means that they may well have the opportunity to get one in the final minute of normal time. We've got possession with Pembele. He has released Milanovic. He checks back. He finds Vincic. This could well be a highlight for us. We've got space through Lello. It's all of the substitutes, and it's another one of them that curls home the second of the game. It's Renier, showing all of their craft, their guile, their technique to pick up a pass from Vincic and then curl the ball. In fact, it's Lello that intervenes and gives the pass. And that is a looping effort that's gone into the corner of the goal, right into the side netting. And on 90 minutes, that should be enough to get us the win, 2-0 against Fiorentina. And you wouldn't say, based on those match stats, that flatters us in any way. If anything, we probably should have scored more. Now, after that morale-boosting victory, we've got other fixtures that I think we might be in contention for. Slavia Prague, Royal Antwerp, Hapoel from Israel, Michelin from Denmark. Before we get to that young boys game, we've got a tough game against Valencia looming towards the end of the league phase, but beating Fiorentina 2-0 at home does at least give us a little bit of hope that we might be able to make progress. By the time you return, we will be towards the end of this league phase, and we will find out whether we are in contention to qualify for the knockout stages in this final season of the quest as we go in the hunt of European glory.